Welcome to Her Story of Success, a podcast featuring stories of influential women trailblazers and business leaders who have defined and pursued their own versions of success and fulfillment. I'm Leah Glover-Hayes, CEO and podcast host of Her Story of Success Women's Business and Media Collective. In today's episode, we are going to be continuing our series on the 4 types of mentorship. If you haven't listened to the first 2 about traditional and passive mentorship, be sure to check those out. But today, I am excited to be joined by Anna-Vija McClain for a conversation about peer mentorship. Anna-Vija is the founder of Piccolo Marketing, an amazing company that helps small business owners create scalable businesses with amazing company culture. She's had such a unique story about how she started her business, which we'll be sharing in this episode. And if you've been listening to this podcast over the past few months, then you've already heard about Piccolo Marketing Mentor, as they are one of our sponsors. It's an amazing program providing outsourced marketing professionals for business owners. When I was thinking about this episode and what I wanted to say about peer mentorship, I knew that Anna-Vija would be a perfect person, not only because she is one of my peer mentors, but she's done an amazing job of building a network of other business owners to collaborate and learn from. In this episode, we'll talk about why peer mentorship is so important. And Anna-Vija is going to explain how you can develop an abundance mindset and start approaching your relationships through the lens of cooper-tition. If you enjoy this episode, I encourage you to share it with some of the women in your network. It could even be a conversation starter, which could help you develop a stronger peer mentorship network with the people around you. And just a quick note, this interview actually includes 2 different conversations. So if you notice the audio quality change partway through the episode, that's why, and we appreciate your grace in that. So please welcome Anna-Vija McClain. Welcome, Anna-Vija. I'm excited to have you with me today.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And so we've already heard kind of how amazing you are with Piccolo Marketing. So let's talk a little bit about who Piccolo Marketing is and maybe like why you started, how you've grown that so that the person listening can be like, oh, that's amazing. I need that.
Sure. So first of all, I had no intention of starting this company. Not totally an accident. At least in the beginning. So I started working in restaurants when I was 16, and then I had a career for about 8 or 9 years in private clubs, so like private country club management. And unfortunately, both of those environments were sort of toxic work, environments for young females. And so
I've been there too.
By the time I was, anyone who's worked in a restaurant, so essentially, by the time I was 28, I was managing a club, and I was kind of in this really negative headspace and sort of facing down this, like, am I going to be in this industry, in this job that I don't like until I'm 65? Like, till I retire? Like, that sounds miserable. And so I started consulting mentors and sort of like, I just forcefully adopt mentors. I'm like, you are my mentor now.
That's why we're very similar.
And so I had, yes, we're very similar in that capacity. So, and so I got a couple of mentors and I asked them for some advice. And what became apparent was that this sort of concept of, go to high school, go to college, start at an entry-level job, work your way up a singular industry corporate ladder, and then you'll be happy when, fill in the blank.
Oof,
and I'm sure a lot of your listeners, especially women, feel that, right? I'll be happy when blank. I was not happy. So in the 2013, 2014 timeframe, I was clinically depressed. I was having chronic anxiety and full-blown panic attacks, was pretty much resigned to my house with the exception of some networking events. And I was trying to find a new job on, LinkedIn and Indeed, and it just wasn't popping up. And I sort of joke, you've heard that, like, when God closes a door, he opens a window. That, and I'm not sure if that's the exact wording. I joke that, like, God closed and locked every door for me with deadbolts, and then, like, all of the windows had, like, bars on them, except for, like, one small window above the washing machine in the basement, but, like, in the crawl space. Like, that was the only option. And so I just had people that I was networking with. They knew that I was looking. They knew probably that I needed money, and I was on unemployment. I literally was on unemployment, running out of cash and going, my only goal is to not be evicted and, quite honestly, to not have to work with anybody ever again. I was so jaded from those experiences. And so I just started telling people, hey, I will do your marketing. And I did a good thing and a bad thing. I was like, for $2.99 a month, I'll do all your marketing. Not surprisingly, I got like 17 clients in the first 6 months, which makes you change your business model a little bit.
So you were working in a restaurant, private clubs, managing them. How did you know that your skills would transfer to marketing? Like, there's a gap there that I'm like,
there was a gap.
Like, where did that come from? How did you know like marketing would be the thing that you could do?
So some of this is timeliness, right? So I started working in restaurants when I was 16, but like I started as a private club manager when I was in my early 20s, like 22. And so it was right when Facebook was coming out. It was right when, so like some of these, like, I don't know how many people remember Front Page, like the website developer. No? Okay. It's, yeah. No. I feel old every time I talk about it.
I'm older than you. Anyway, I just was not as cool as you.
I understand, but like Front Page was the thing before WordPress. So essentially it was in my job in nonprofit and at restaurants, because I would, orchestrate the Valentine's Day celebration, whatever. I had to learn how to do marketing, and private clubs are nonprofits. They're not, traditional, like they're a subset. But all the money has to be reinvested back into the company, which means as a manager who is in charge of sales and marketing and, selling private events and memberships and managing restaurant and, that kind of stuff. It was guerrilla warfare. It was just like, you have to figure out, and I'm not even joking. Remember 08, 09 when there was a huge recession? Yes. I'm trying to sell private club memberships in that recession.
Wow.
So I had to figure out. And, they just, good luck. Like, you're selling exclusivity to everyone. Like, it made no sense. But anyway, you had to learn on the fly. And so like I learned all of those things and had to teach them to myself. How do you make a website? Well, I'm going to go figure it out with Front Page. And then I did that. And it was like, well, how do you create Facebook groups and like engage people on social media so that they feel like there's a community within the club? Okay, well, I'm going to do that. And then how do you make networking groups so that people feel like they're getting value for their membership? All of that had to happen organically for me. And so when I left the private country club world, I had a network of all these people that knew I knew how to do those things. They had been part of it. They had seen me do it. So I'm not joking. I laugh that like one MailChimp email launched my company. I took everybody in my whole database. I sent one email and I said, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. I hope you're doing well. I do marketing now. If you know of anybody who could use my services or help, please give them my information. Have a great day. And I just started to get referral after referral. And most of our business at this point is still 7 years later, referral based.
So it goes back to like the companies that you work with when you're talking about marketing, social media, digital media, all of these things, you still at the core of who you are understand and know like word of mouth is still huge. It doesn't matter your marketing campaign if you don't have a good core and people like that know who you are and the integrity and all of those things. So I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, you started Piccolo Marketing, you're this marketing agency of one, and now you have employees and contractors and you're larger and you're starting multiple lines and products. Yeah. So who today are Piccolo Marketing clients? And let's talk a little bit about what you kind of do for them. What's that? What does it look like in Piccolo?
So this is really interesting. We've had this really cool evolution, which anyone who runs a business, I'm sure, is familiar with. Like I said, I started with, for $2.99 a month, I'll do all your marketing. And when I come to your office, I'll like clean it too. Like, what do you need me to do while I'm here? Like, it was that level. Then I said, hey, I need to charge some more, and I need to be a little bit more selective about my clients to make sure that, we're giving our best, right? So what happened was this natural evolution, and the employees come, right? So as you get more work, you hire more people. You have a little bit more bandwidth than you need. You get more clients. It's a nice ebb and flow there. And my team is phenomenal. I would not be where I am without them. And I try not to get very teared up when I say that. They're amazing and wonderful. But now who we serve is interesting because you mentioned the multiple line items. What happened was, as we got bigger, our marketing services became a really good fit for a specific niche of small to mid-sized business owners, right? Because you have to have enough money to spend on marketing that you're going to get an ROI. What I will not do, we probably turn away more business than we take because people get referred to me all the time and they go, hey, I only have X number of dollars. Can you do my social media? And I'll say no. Like, you're not going to get an ROI for that money at what we needed to. So let me introduce you to an independent contractor who can do it, or to, let me hook you up with an intern or something. However, my passion and our company, my team, our passion is helping those entrepreneurs and small business owners. So that's where our marketing mentor program came from and where Piccolo University came from. So we said, if we can't do your marketing for you, we're either going to teach you to do it yourself through Piccolo University, the way that we train our internal employees, or we're going to use Marketing Mentor, where we're going to coach you along so that you can do it on your own. And then what we've seen is people start at that level with us and we develop these great relationships, and they're able to grow into where eventually they're like, yay, great. Now I'm big enough that I can hire you to do my marketing so I can focus on other things.
I love that. So how did you start to develop your own network, both with peers and potential clients? And just kind of give us a little bit of background on that. Yeah. And as we get into peer networking.
So you and I have known each other for a long time, so you know this about me. I am the type A-ist, type A that there could possibly be. So I'm like,
yes, that's why I keep you around, because I'm like type B negative or something, negative B.
And it's very, and it pervades every part of my life. And in some ways it's good, and in some ways it's bad. Like, maybe we don't need to have a checklist for the Galentine's Day cards that I'm sending out. But why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we have a checklist for that? Anyway, my intentionality when I started the company, as you and I have talked about before, was just to work for myself. It was, I want to be, a marketing I didn't like the word consultant, but because I didn't think it was fitting for me, but I wanted to be able to come into small businesses and help entrepreneurs with their strategy and then stick around and execute it. I didn't want to do one or the other. I feel like, people that are in that space need a one-stop solution for both things. So as I started, my intention was, I'm going to do those things and I will have as many clients as I can handle, and that will be it. And then within 6 months, I had like 17 clients and not nearly enough brain space for all of that. And I was like, well, this has been more successful than I anticipated. I should probably get some help in here. So, I ended up starting to hire people. And during that process, I realized that not only could I needed the network that I already had, but that I had to start being strategic about networking and building a peer group, and just as much as I did like a prospecting pipeline.
And why is that?
Well, because when someone calls you and says, I think people can't see my face on the podcast. It was what the gritting teeth emoji is what just happened. Because when someone would call me and say, hey, I heard you do marketing. Yep, I do. Well, I want you to do this entire digital ads lead funnel from top to bottom. And inside I have a panic attack because I'm like, I just started my marketing company 6 weeks ago and I don't know how to do, I know what those things are, but I've never done them before. And I'm sure as heck not going to take your money to tell you that I can do something that I've never done. That's not fair. But I don't want to tell you no, and I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm doing. So, boy, it would be a lot better for me to say, you know what? I don't specialize in digital ads lead funnels, but let me introduce you to a few people who do. These are great people that will take good care of you. That's a lot nicer, coming off
Then nope.
I don't do that. Or well, give me some money and I'll see if I can figure it out. What a terrible business plan. So additionally for hiring. So then as I grew, I was like, you know what? I'm not a web developer. I know how a website should be set up. I understand design and messaging and like the psychology behind a website, and the strategy, but I'm not a web developer. And, I'm sort of in my zone of incompetence with that. It's like, this is me like fumbling through it, trying to, why am I doing this? Right. So if I go meet 2 or 3 really great web developers and I can do some vetting and I feel comfortable either referring to them, or what we ended up doing, we have a really solid strategic partner with web development that we've used for the past 5 years. So, when people come in and say we need website help, we are happy to help you. And now I just have a web developer, right? So it's not me that has to do it. But again, it's sort of understanding that you want to have a pipeline of potential sales coming in, but you can take those same strategies or principles, those same activities, and apply them to potential new hires or people that might work for you, or strategic partners or referrals. And that's been a huge part of our business growth, is just, being able to provide solutions to people even when we're not the ones to do it.
Right. I love that. And then what's it looked like? So as a business owner and a younger, like, I don't know if young is the right word, a newer business
That's okay.
owner, what does that look like as far as is getting connected, being connected, and having a relationship with other entrepreneurs that are maybe at your or around your same level?
One of the things that I will say is that the spirit of our partnership or our peer connections is sharing information, and cooper-tition is one of my favorite words. It's like
Say
cooperating
that one
with
more
your
time.
I know, it's cooperating with your competition. So we call it I read this somewhere. I hate that I can't remember where, but it's cooper-tition. So like right now, we're developing really great partnerships with other agencies that specialize in one particular vertical, like digital ads, where we are partnering together and saying, we'll have you do our digital ads and you send us all of the stuff, social media and web and all the stuff you don't want to do. So anyway, there's a spirit and a mentality to that. But I think, to your question, being younger, being new, being a female is always going to influence, who's going to want to talk to you and what level are they going to want to participate or refer or communicate with you. What I found is that I want to trust my gut, because the people who give me the vibe that my age or my gender has something to do with my efficacy or my work quality are probably not the people that I want to work with anyway. So when I get those vibes, I'm like, hey, you're probably not my people. Best of luck to you. And then I go find other people who don't make me feel that way.
I love that you said trust your gut. Roz Brewer was just appointed to the CEO of Walgreens, and that was part of the story of her is trusting your gut at every level. And when I think of peer mentorship and maybe what I've learned and some of the takeaways that I have, often I have thought that I shouldn't trust my gut because maybe somebody knows something that I don't, or I'm just inexperienced or whatever. And then we see a woman, a African-American woman at the highest level. And her main story was, I trusted my gut. I could have taken a CEO role at a venture capital firm, but she knew she wanted something bigger. And she took the number 2 position at Starbucks, waited her turn, trusted her gut. And now she is the only Black woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And I say that in this peer mentorship conversation because someone that was her mentor and is now her peer was the CEO of Pepsi. And so I think that there's so much that we can learn from one another, that either we're on the same level, we're on the same step. In a lot of ways, you're a step ahead of me. In podcasting, I'm like a little bit of a step ahead of you. We've had these conversations.
Sure. I have at least 7 or 8 episodes now, Leah.
Yay!
So quantifiably,
Yes.
you are many, many steps ahead of me in this. Yeah.
But I love that. And one of the things that you were saying about, you're developing this network of people that do things adjacent to you, right?
Yeah.
Like web development, or they do something in the same circle that you do, cooper-tition.
Yes.
Love it. But how helpful it is to learn from people that are in your same field, in your same area, right around you. And I want you to talk a minute for the value of that. Like, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned from people that are your peers in the industry?
So one of the things that I want to preface this with, and this is hard, is that this isn't just an action, like an activity or an action. This is a mindset. And I think that that's where, you can ask me the question, well, how do you go about that? Well, you can take the same, action steps that you use to fill up a sales pipeline and apply them to a peer network and try to develop, relation. You can do that. I have a template for it. It's pretty straightforward, but you have to come at it with a mindset. And I think cooperation is a great word. It has to be an abundance mindset, and it has to be a mindset of learning and teaching. You have to be open to that. And you and I have talked about this in other capacities. We have 3 core company principles. And the second one is we are a teaching agency. We're a teaching company.
Yeah.
It has to be, like I said, it has to be pervasive in everything you're doing. Because if you're coming at, let's say, so I'm in marketing, right? If I had started my marketing agency and said, well, every other marketing agency is competition for me, and I can't talk to them, and I have to try to this is so funny, but we used to do it in the wedding industry all the time. Catfish them and call and pretend like I'm going to be a prospect and like find out what their rates are, like find out what their, it's just that negativity, right? You're coming at it from a mindset of limitation, which is there's only this much business. And if you get it, I don't get it, right? When in reality, the chances are is that like if you got that business, it probably wasn't great business for me. Probably was meant to be yours. Right. I have an abundance mentality, as does everyone on my team, which is how do I find and focus on the abundance and how do I share it with other people? Because it's not just about, you've heard the give to get principle with networking, right? Which is, if you're going into a networking relationship or a peer mentor relationship with the idea of what can I get out of this relationship, you're probably not going to get that much. Because if the other person doesn't feel like there's authenticity and a true connection and a give and get back and forth, you're just trying to use people for what you can get and move on. Like, that's not going to get you very far. So in my world, it's okay, who can I look at from an abundance mentality and start to compare notes with? The more open and transparent I am, it breaks down these walls so fast. I can call other marketing agencies. I did this at the top of the year. I'm like, hey, it's 2021. There is still COVID. Crap is hitting the fan. Like, what's going on over there? Like, what are you guys doing over there? And the ones that are willing to get on the phone and talk within 5-7 minutes of me saying, this is what's going on with us. This is how we're addressing it. This is what our numbers from last year, not all the details, but the highlights. What are you doing? They'll tell me everything back. Because when I show them that I'm not out trying to steal their business or trying to edge them out of the market or trying to, learn all their stuff so I can undercut them, it's like, no, we can work together and everybody can do better. Now we're sharing good, honest information because of the abundance mentality. There's plenty of marketing work for everybody. Like every day I see dozens of things on the internet that make me cringe and go, damn it, that person needs marketing. There's plenty of business. Like
there is
everybody
plenty
out
of
there.
business.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that, when you look at, having the conversations with your peers or, the cooperation, it's coming from that abundance mentality. I mean, just the statistics, the numbers of women that are starting, and it's not, both of us, neither one just work with women. But if you look at the number of new businesses, I'm talking like getting filed with the state, federal taxes, like the number of businesses starting a day, it's growing exponentially. So to your point, you're going to have the opportunity in 6 months that's greater than you do now, because everybody that starts business needs sales and they need marketing. And so I love that you have that mentality of like, let's grow and learn and help each other. Right. And
yeah.
I just think that's so powerful. What are some tips? So the person listening that's like, oh, I want to start doing this a little bit more, because we do have to have the right mindset, have the abundance mentality. The more that you do give, you do get back. But here's the thing, when you give and you help someone, it's only natural that they're going to be like telling their friends like, oh my gosh, this person helped me. AnnaVija was amazing and helped me get a client that wasn't a good fit for her and it was for me. Other people are now going to want to talk to you, right? So what are the things after having a good mindset are important for you to start like developing a good peer mentorship?
Yeah. So, I want to pull this up because I wrote an article in Forbes for this, and I'm just like, I had all the bullet points laid out. But
will you send it and we can link it in the show notes? Okay.
So here are some of the highlights. So essentially, I know that we're talking about peer mentorship. And, in that scenario, you don't necessarily have like an established mentor that's further along. And then you've got, the mentee, which is sort of, asking to help come up to that level. A great example of this is I have a very dear friend who also has a marketing agency, super abundance mentality, found out, again, 7 years ago that I was starting an agency. She was the first one to call me. And honestly, like my agency on paper is a direct competitor with her. And I was shocked to get, I'd met her a few times networking, was shocked to get this call, right? And what we have found in our relationship, we are still great friends 7 years later, is that sometimes she's the mentor and sometimes I'm the mentor. So we are at a peer level to some extent. She started her agency about 8 or 10 months before I did, but in some capacities, she's teaching me, and in other things I teach her, and we always ebb and flow back and forth. And because we both have that open mindset of learning and teaching, it works really well. But in the Forbes article, one of the things that I identified was that if you're going to have a mentoring relationship with anyone, whether it's a peer or a strategic, like I'm going to seek out that established successful person as a mentor, you need to know what you want to get out of it. Because if you don't, you're putting a lot of responsibility and work on the other person to figure out what you need. And I think this is where a lot of relationships that are trying to be mentor-mentee relationships go bad. I'm sure you've heard this before. I've heard it with a lot of nonprofits I volunteer with, right? Hey, how can I help? I'm here to help. How can I help you? And they go, oh my God, we're so happy to have all of your help. Anything that you could do would be wonderful.
I cannot stand that. No, get specific.
Yeah, but what do you need? So I'm here. What is it that you need me to do? Oh my gosh, anything that you could do would be great. I mean, we have like 7 or 18 or 27 million things that you could do. Great. Which of those would you like me to help with? Well, anything. And here's where the psychology comes in, right? Because I've been on that side where you're asking people to do things. You don't want to seem ungrateful as a mentee or as a nonprofit or someone who's asking for help by saying, I need you to X. Because it seems like you're saying, well, anything else that you would do isn't what I want. I want you to do this one thing. It doesn't mean that you can't accept other things, but by telling people exactly what you want, you're not only much more likely to get it, but they will be more than happy to help you with that thing without the additional responsibility and work of having to have figured it out, right? So if you're going to go approach, you and I have had this conversation earlier this year, right? Or gosh, what year is it even, Leah? I don't
I think we're in 2021.
Time has no meaning or construct anymore. No. You and I had this conversation several months ago, which was, hey, Leah, you would like some mentoring help in marketing and sort of structuring that and getting some systems. I would really like some mentoring help in podcasting. And so I've said, hey, let's, we're starting here. And then I have a list of things where I'm going to go, when Leah and I have a conversation about podcasting, these are the specific things that I'm going to ask her because this is where I'm struggling and need guidance. I'm not going to sit down and say, Leah, tell me everything you know about podcasting.
Right. Because I'm like, from what? Yeah. I have had people do that.
For that, right?
Need you to get more specific.
I think that it's when you're talking about setting up those successful relationships, be willing to give and get, be willing to give first, but also when you're wanting to get something, be very definitive about what it is that you want. so that the other person can easily give it to you and you can both feel good about the energy around that exchange.
Yes, I love that. And if it is like, oh, I have 3 different things or 5 different things, say, here are the 5 things that I need that I think that you would be a good fit for. Which one would you most want to work on right now? Right? So it is okay if you don't have one thing, give a couple of options and say, this is what I believe is in your wheelhouse. Which one do you want to do? Here's, I think that's perfect. Awesome.
So one other tip though is it doesn't have to all happen at once. Like, it's okay if you have 5 things. If you have 5 things that you want to get, like if I said, Leah, here are the 5 things that I need you to help me with podcasting. I'm not going to sit down and ask you to give me all 5 of those things at once. Not only is that a lot for you, but also that's a terribly large amount of information for me to digest and be able to take actionable steps on. So instead I can say, hey, Leah, I would love to meet up with, you once a month for coffee. And let's start with one thing. And then I'm going to go away and in my own time, I'm going to work on it. And I'm going to come back and tell you my progress. And then maybe we move on to number 2, or maybe we finish up number 1. Like, it can be organic. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to ask you all my questions right now, or I'm never going to get to talk to you again. That's not a great mentor relationship. Right.
Right. That's a really good point. And in peer mentorship, you're a lot more likely to have that type of relationship where it can be a little bit more ongoing. I was talking to somebody today about they were getting my guidance on traditional mentorship, and I'm like, you don't have to put stipulations on it, but understanding okay, this is something that we're going to be sitting down with because we are in the same field, we are in the same world, so it makes sense for us to have an ongoing relationship. Whereas sometimes with a traditional mentor, you might not have that because they don't have capacity to just keep working with you on specific things. So I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time on talking about peer mentorship. I think that was super helpful. I took away some notes, so I hope that the listener did too.
Great.
Thanks, AnnaVija. And you can check out AnnaVija. She's at Piccolo Marketing. Or what's your LinkedIn and your personal?
So it's ANNAVija is my first name, AnnaVija, and then McClain is MCCLAIN. So interestingly, AnnaVija is a unique enough name that if you Google AnnaVija by itself, like the first 4 pages are just every way you could possibly think of to contact me. So
I love it. It doesn't hurt that you have a marketing team that's good at SEO.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
It does not.
And your name is very beautiful and unique.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. To subscribe, click the circular icon, and to watch the latest episode, click the video on the right. If you listen to podcasts, check out Her Story of Success on your favorite podcast platform. See you next time.